Hi, my name is Lucy. I just wanted to apologize for all the noise last night.
I actually came up here to have some time to myself.
Well, actually, we're going to the mountain. If you want to come, you're totally welcome.
We're gonna take the trail up this way to a flat area called Fiddler's Green. Once we're up there, I'm gonna take each of you to your solo spot. So as long as you don't wander off, you should be fine.
But yesterday, on that hike, something happened.
Daryl, you gotta watch where you step, man.
Boom, there you go. That was the trailer for Call of the Void, arriving on all digital platforms on April 15th. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds World of the World. Joining me to talk all things Call of the Void is writer, director James B. Cox. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Great to see you, Patrick, and I'm excited to share Call of the Void with the world. It's been a long journey to get here, a few years, but it's definitely gratifying to finally get to unleash our little monster film. So
I love that. I love that. As a fellow filmmaker, as I was telling you before we got rolling, it's a lot of hard work. It takes a village, as I'm sure you know, of your cast and crew. So salute to you and your entire team to make it happen, to do what we enjoy, to help give something that takes people outside of the madness in their regular world, something for us to escape to. I love horror and this genre. I cannot wait to dig even more in and like really dive into this and hopefully not be scared of the woods, which I'm sure this is probably going to make me a little bit more, a little tenuous to do that. But I enjoy stuff like this. I think we all love stuff like this. So if I can start with you, James, how did this nugget of an idea hit you in your head? As we say, the apple hit Einstein in the top of his head and he started creating. When did the apple hit you in the head? And tell me how the product started.
well, like many things, it's kind of like, it's more like two, neutrons are like colliding with each other, and suddenly you have something that you're like, oh, I see a way for this. And in this case, I can say for sure that composer worked on this film. Clayton Warbeck and I were talking about another project we were trying to get ramped up, and it was one of those times where things just aren't coming together, and you get frustrated and you're like, oh man, part of me just wants to run to the woods and just go shoot a movie. And started talking and thinking about it, and the idea for a movie kind of centered around this idea of an unexplainable hum, a phenomena, and where things could go from there, really took off. The other, I guess, neutron or electron that collided was, I read, one of my favorite authors is Howard Phillips Lovecraft, and he wrote a story called A Color Out of Space. Some of your viewers, maybe you have seen A Color Out of Space by Richard Stanley, the recent film adaptation with Nicolas Cage. Oh man, is that it's just a gushy horror movie, and it's fantastic in so many ways. And it doesn't stray too far from the story in terms of the themes and how the quote unquote color affects the family that comes in contact with it. But what I loved about the concept of that original story is that it really is a color that is bringing doom and chaos and madness to these poor people. So the idea of a sound, and the idea of a sound that could bring so much dread and bring so much horror to these people was kind of the initial nucleus that everything else kind of came out from. And from there, I started writing this, and then the pandemic happened, so we all got to meditate a little bit about our own individual solemn and kind of getting some solitude of our own, whether we wanted it or not.
Yeah.
And that, while this is not really a pandemic oriented film, I think, the idea of a enclosed location and someone trying to escape their chaos, their madness, only to find new chaos and madness, I think is pretty. I think we can all relate to that to some degree.
Oh, completely.
Nothing ever ends. Nothing ever is fully solved. We have to really engage with things ourselves to overcome them.
I dig that, and I completely agree. It's completely relatable, completely universal, especially in regards to sound. I'm sure in various instances wherever you've been, I've been, when you're out just by yourself and you're just kind of meditating in your own respect, and then, there's that certain thing that might hit you, and I think it's a universal thing that we all as a people feel, and it's so relatable. So I think it works. I know for me, watching just this trailer just now, it works, and I dig that. And also, I would add that as a filmmaker, and as you said, this kind of started a little bit beginning of the pandemic and then into the pandemic. For those fellow filmmakers watching this, budgetary constraints, helps with location, set pieces, just everything for the story to make it happen. So you pen the script, you kind of had those inspired works, coming up with this character. I had her name a second ago, but we follow
Moray,
her.
yeah.
If you can lead into Moray and then meeting these people as we just shown from the trailer, without spoiling for the people that may not have seen Call of the Void yet.
So Moray is played by Caitlin Carver really excellently. It was a joy to work with her, and she and I got to really sit down and tear the script apart and really pull together like what was essential to her, because I mean, frankly, she's like 80% of the movie on screen. So that definitely, hopefully that's not a spoiler, but that should tell you a lot about the lift that she had to do and the importance of this character and getting it right. But yeah, so Moray is, she's a woman in her 30s. She's just recently lost her brother to a tragic illness, and she's feeling alienation from her parents, and she lost her job. And the trifecta of those different crises that would be really enough on their own to kind of, lead you astray, she decides to basically exit the world into the woods and try to, rebuild herself and find that centeredness that some of us seek in the woods. And she finds something else. I think it is fair to say. From that standpoint, it's a movie about somebody grappling with these different stressors, these different anxieties, these different life changes. And I think what's really important to get across is that community is really important to solving a lot of your personal problems. But she doesn't do that. She seeks solitude, and kind of in the tradition of a lot of, horror stories like this, somebody thinks that they'll find safety and comfort in the woods, and they find it in different nature. It's like Grizzly Man or any of these documentaries. It's nature is not necessarily our friend or our enemy, but it's definitely not our friend in that traditional sense. So all that to say is, I think it's, part of her journey is discovering that the hard way. And she meets some people along the way, and it's interesting to see how the dynamics between them play off of each other. And where therein lies kind of the theme. It's like, if we people could really use the same words and communicate with each other amazingly, how much better we'd probably be off. But we often find ourselves kind of, I think, turning inward and in a negative way, and alienating ourselves from community and others. But you'll discover that in the film if you give it a look. It's definitely that's a strong theme in it.
I love that. I dig that, and I agree. As a filmmaker and writer, I think our job is to entertain. Number one, we want to entertain, but also there's the things that we see existing in the world, and we kind of want to put that into the work to maybe educate, inspire, just see things that we feel, and kind of get that out there and see if there's other people that feel the same way. I was reading, when I was doing some homework, you did gray matter. You had another project called Hacked Control Alt Delete. And I think that's kind of like a theme of your work with Nighthawks Entertainment. Shout out to your whole squad there. To just kind of express themselves, to express yourselves in that. Is that kind of like one of your themes you kind of like to take on as a filmmaker beyond just the entertainment aspect of kind of, tackling some social issues maybe here and there that you see that we may not be understanding as a people, to just kind of do that subtle message, we'll entertain, but all the while I'm kind of trying to tell you about something.
Yeah, I think it's an inevitability. I will say that I came off as saying this is kind of a message movie in a way that might be inaccurate because it isn't. But I do construct my writing from an essay standpoint in the sense that it's like I go in with a hypothesis, and inevitably my conclusion is going to be vastly more interesting and different than the idea going in. And that's an experience of discovery for me as a writer, and my hope is that experience also translates to the viewer, and that's what makes the work interesting. But yeah, no, it's always, I feel very much kind of, you mentioned Gray Matter. That was an adaptation of a Stephen King short story, and in his On Writing he talks about how the process of writing is excavation. It is you're finding the fossil, in the ground. And because of that, it's like you learn, or at least I found I write best when I am listening to what I'm writing and trying to respond to that, as opposed to trying to, create a masterwork lattice of outline and story, and then, imbue that onto the page as some sort of, some people are masters of that. I mean, that's not to put down, necessarily somebody who really, constructs something from a purely planned standpoint. But I find that I am served best by letting the story talk to me, let the characters help figure this out, and that, inevitably it leads some characters kind of come out of the woodwork and surprise me. One I want to kind of share about is Daryl, played by Ethan Harris, and he is an excellent actor, and I was really excited to work with him before the project got started. But also, together we kind of discovered that Daryl's importance to the story was even more important than it was in the script. It was kind of his relationship with Murray, in terms of like they're both outsiders in this kind of in group, is really kind of brought the whole movie together, I guess, to to quote the dude. I didn't mean to do that, but there you go. But it's really is, that's, I think writing is an artifact of us, and that's kind of, I think, what's first and foremost. It's not something that should be put on, an apple crate and kind of like say, like, this is, what I'm trying to say. It's more of a, we kind of discover the work, and it's gonna, if we do it right, if we listen to our, our hearts, and we listen to ourselves, we listen to the people we're collaborating with, and we really pull everything together, it becomes this artifact. It becomes this thing that's special and unique, and isn't as much a manufacture of something we've seen, but more, this oddity and curiosity that hasn't been done before in the same way, and I feel the same way about all writing that I do and writing that I read of other people. It's like it's almost like a time travel device,
Oh yeah.
I'm reading, works of M.R. James, the English ghost story writer, and because he writes in the first person so often, and it's so much of a, like, I'm going to tell you a camp story sort of tone to his writing, it's almost like he's right here with me when I'm reading his words. And that, to me, that's the beautiful thing about storytelling that we get to do as creatives and as filmmakers, is we get to carry on that tradition. We get to, create our own little artifacts, and, maybe if we're so lucky, they'll outlive us, and we'll get, we'll be studied someday as something, I guess. I don't know. That's a bit lofty, but my point being is that it really is important that these things communicate, that they don't necessarily communicate a message, but they communicate something, and they're a piece of us that we're kind of like, sending out into the world. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
oh, no worries. I hope I didn't come off. Basically, I agree with that. If anything, I think as a writer, create, like you, that it at least sparks the conversation. You
Yeah.
want to entertain, you want to maybe put something in there that you may feel or not feel, but at least spark the conversation. To get things going and people rethinking things or just looking at something differently. So other than what they may already have in mind. So no,
Yeah.
I respect that and I agree with that, sir. So Call of the Void. When I was doing again researching, when I was like, doing searches, I know that Call of the Void is also used for people. It's like a terminology for people that like want to jump off into like a canyon or something like that. They feel like this weird call or something. I don't know how that ties because again, I haven't fully seen all of the film yet. If that ties into this or if this is like aliens from outer space or something yet, I don't know yet. Because that opening got me. I love your opening, by the way. But yeah, so yeah, that's what I wanted to say there. But this cast, and you said it, you have this amazing character who plays Murray, who has to really carry the weight of this film for the majority of the film, but also some very interesting actors. Some of the actors I recognize from other projects I've seen and really appreciated and loved. Talk about your wonderful cast that you're able to put together for this film, if you don't mind, sir.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't first talk about my casting directors. Bass Casting, that's Lauren and Jordan Bass, are just excellent people. I've worked with them on, been fortunate to work with them on both this and Hacked, which you may also find is called Control Delete. Control Delete's my title, but they are such an excellent team. They're a brother and sister team that have helped take these people on a page and help me find these incredibly talented collaborators, coworkers, and just excellent performers to bring these people to life. And I'm so grateful for that because that really is essential to what we do. Because as I often try to kind of emulate in my work and also communicate to the people in terms of what my priorities are. Great performances are the special effects that we work with. There are in fact visual effects and practical effects in this movie, but the special effects that I care about and that are for me what makes the movie compelling versus not is the people. And we're wired that way. We want to respond to other humans and see them in these situations, like a great Stephen King story. It's usually average people put in extraordinary situations, and that's very much the case. So yeah, I mean, right off the bat, Mina Sunwell is an excellent actress, and also delivers a great vocal performance in the film as the leader of her band, and she sings "In the Pines," which I really enjoy. There's a couple songs in the movie actually, which is pretty cool. It's something you wouldn't necessarily expect when going into a horror movie. Is that there's some really great musical performances in it, and then yeah, Rich, I just loved working with him. He was always he plays Sterling in the film, and he's just such a excellent guy, but also always knew what the right question was for the scene, and we drilled down to just the thing that we needed to get to be successful, and that to me is always it's great to have actors who are talented. I kind of come to expect that. But what's more important to me is people that I enjoy working with, because you're for 14 days, you get very close and you have to solve a lot of problems together.
Yeah.
And yeah, working with these folks has been fantastic. And that includes Christian Antidormi, who you might see in like Spartacus. He's such a cool guy. And I really enjoyed working with him on Shaping Coal, who in some ways, because I've been in bands and stuff like that in the past, Cole was almost an analog for who I was. When I was in bands, I was not as chill. I was very angsty and usually, very prone to pointing out the faults in others. So I've learned through that process. I think it's made me a better filmmaker to kind of learn just the value of taking a step back and listening more than talking. But yeah, so I mean, all these people, they were able to, take inward all these, different personal things that I was putting into these characters and really brought them to life and made them make sense. And and gave them a sense of life off the screen. And then when the weird stuff happens, it was a lot of fun to play in that sandbox and figure out like, okay, like how do we express this? How do we do that? How, when we're, near the end of the movie, when things are very different, it's like, it's a very different, everything about everything in the film is different at the end, but that's something for you to discover later. But yeah, it's very much a cool thing. And there were they were always up for the challenge. They were always, ready to bond together to overcome, the pressures that we were under. In fact, I think it was Christian who aptly said it takes pressure to make diamonds.
Yes.
And I'll leave that to audiences to decide if we had diamonds, but I definitely believe we had pressure, and I'm very proud of what we were able to do. So it was, it all came together, thankfully.
Wonderful. Shout out to your whole team and your cast and crew. I love that. Love that energy. In regards to the musical elements, you're a filmmaker, but I think you just said you were in a band as well. Having that musical component, because sometimes, the non-filmmakers the non-musicians like myself, licensing, having that component play through that and having to make that happen. What was that like integrating that? Did you already have music that you pulled from, or did you work and then obviously you had to cast people that could perform the music? Can you tell me about kind of like that mixture into making a film like Call of the Void and having that included in this?
Well, I learned a lot from my first venture, which was Control Delete, also known as Hacked, which I believe is still on Tubi if people want to check it out. It's a very different film, much more of a Shaggy Dog story. But I bring it up because in that movie, music plays a very integral, it's a technological thriller, AI thriller. Might be a little dated now, actually, considering how much AI is everywhere in our lives. But 5 years ago, it was a little different, to say the least. It's come a long way. But music was it was central to the plot, frankly. And because of that, I had to learn a lot about public domain music and licensing music. We licensed music from a great band and two musicians working in electronica called 8-Bit Weapon. That was a sort of a retro futuristic, like 80s retro futuristic sort of thing, cyberpunk movie. So music was very integral to that. What I took from that is a lot of lessons learned about public domain and how to utilize it best. And so all the songs in the film, In the Pines and The Cuckoo, are both public domain songs, and they're actually traditional songs, specifically Appalachian folk songs. Although The Cuckoo has, like all these folk songs have such storied histories and interesting, like they were almost like two songs grafted together sometimes, literally in the case of both In the Pines and The Cuckoo. Read some symbolism into that, will you? But then there's also some original songs in Call of the Void. I composed one song, mostly just one song, that features prominently in the film at a certain plot point, and that was also a new experience for me. I've composed music in the past. I've definitely done my fair share of musicianship, but it was a new thing to write something and integrate it into a film, and that's what we I worked with Clayton very closely with that. He also is the music supervisor, so he was a guiding hand in terms of licensing and all that kind of stuff. So in this case, licensing me to the film, to the
Yeah.
it becomes a new kind of relationship with your movie. I'll tell you that for free. But yeah, it was a really great way to kind of, again, create an artifact within the film and capture something that was a little different.
Yeah, I'm just so fascinated by that because as a filmmaker, I know the hoops and the hurdles you got to jump through when you want to use a specific piece of music, so yeah. Very curious, like any pro tips you would have maybe to me and everybody else out there, like look into public domain or conceptualizing something yourself. If you have somebody on staff that can put that together, and any quick pro tip you can put out there in regards to that?
It is, I never underestimate it, by the way. Just because you think something is public domain doesn't mean it's public domain. across the globe. And it may not, in fact, be public domain at all if you're not careful. So here's a little story. So the song "The Cuckoo" features in the film, and it is great. It's perfect for the movie, as it turns out. Originally, it was going to be "Waltzing Matilda," the famous Australian folk song, because it's kind of like a very jaunty beat mixed with very dark lyrics about a person who's homeless and is living by the river, and then bad things happen, and then it ends like they died and their ghost still sings "Waltzing Matilda." It's surprisingly joyful while being really dark at the same time, which was just the right tone for the moment it was going to be used in the movie, right? However, "Waltzing Matilda" is public domain everywhere except in the U.S., where somebody was able to copyright it in the 40s, even though it was originally composed by somebody else in the 1819s or 1890s. So, that's just the kind of stuff you got to be careful about. Because if, like with anything with copyright or legal things, it's like if it stands, which it did in the 40s, for long enough, then it just becomes the law, whether or not it's right or wrong. I'm not the one who's going to go to court to fix that, Yeah. So "The Cuckoo" it was, and I have to thank Clayton for finding that one. That was a song that I believe he probably taught to his kids, I think is what he told me, but I may be wrong on that. But nevertheless, it was just the perfect song to inject into the ending and add again that jauntiness that also has a stroke of menace in it. That's kind of appropriate for a good horror movie, in my opinion. Is there's a uncanny joyfulness that is just not right.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, because I know that is something we deal with as filmmakers and creatives a lot in trying to work with it, and people spend a lot of money to utilize certain songs, and there might be other solutions. In regards to filmmaking and making this film, and as you mentioned to me earlier, film locations. You're actually at one of the locations right now. Can you speak to shooting in the woods, shooting on site, shooting where you're at right now, as a filmmaker, and kind of now, like, this will forever be Call of the Void. Whenever you go to this place, I'm now saying, right? You'll forever remember this.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because so this location is it's owned within our family, at least for now, but it's there are these lovely little kind of like townhouse cabins right on Big Bear Mountain, Snow Summit. So when I was writing it, I wrote it with this place in mind, because again, my goal was just get out there and shoot something, right? So I wrote them with these locations, wrote intimately the details of, just the geography and everything into the script. And fortunately, I was able to pull off actually shooting up here. But yeah, no, it's great, and I come back here now because my kids are on spring break, and it's funny to me. It's like I know this place better than my wife does. It's because we've had to troubleshoot every inch of it, as filmmakers, to figure out. It's like, okay, electrical has to run through here. Okay, where are we going to stick wardrobe? Wardrobe's going to go into that bedroom. Okay, but where are we going to build this thing? Okay, and it's like, and we housed our crew here. We shot everything here. So for 14 days we were at camp, essentially, and we were stuck on the mountain together to try to get this thing done. And it was not an easy shoot by any means, because getting things up here and just negotiating the elements in terms of getting the lighting where it needs to go and equipment that may or may not work once it gets here sometimes is very stressful. But we overcame that, thankfully, and we got to use this beautiful place, which is dear to my heart, but also I think is a cool atmosphere for the film. It really they're a special. I should give my father-in-law the art direction credit for some of this, just because of the the amount of work he put into the wood and all that. But very much it's a just I think a place that's very special to me that I hope in watching it becomes its own signature thing, because it's very distinctive. And I should also say Chelsea Pickens as our our actual art director went above and beyond in so many ways, bringing together. I mean, again, you have to see the film because it's a lot more than just nice wood. It's the movie is using our space. It's using the mountains, and there's a lot of things that get discovered along the way in the story that make it a lot bigger than you think it's going to be. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, it's a cool place.
I
Big Bear.
agree. You have a beautiful home behind you. The room you're in. I'm sure even outside of it, but just the room, you're so beautiful and so inspiring. As writers, I would get inspired just sitting in that room. I'm inspired looking at you in that room right now. It's just beautiful.
I know it. It looks like a fake background, but I promise you, like that, all that's here.
I love it. I love it. So shooting in the elements, making this fantastical story. You're now going to also scare people when they go to the woods, or if they get a cabin in the woods like you are at right now. Any further message you want to tell people about Call of the Void arriving on all digital platforms on April 15th?
Well, yeah, definitely check it out. It's already available for pre-order on iTunes, or Apple TV, I think is the more accurate term. You can check out the trailer on YouTube. We're released by Gravitas Ventures, so you'll find us on their YouTube channel. And the response there is really, really positive and really great, and that's really inspiring to me. I really strongly encourage people to check it out, and also check out a lot of the writing that inspired it. I would check out M.R. James. I would check out H.P. Lovecraft if you haven't already. Stephen King, heard of him? These are authors I'm a constant reader of. Stephen King fans will get that, but it's very much I think my attempt here to really try to capture that weird fiction, that strange, that different, and bring that forward into our times to keep those stories alive. So yeah, that's I'm very excited. And April 15th, please go see it if you're at all interested. And I hope it thrills and chills you, and maybe gives you some dreadful thoughts.
I love that, and I appreciate the recommendations. As a creative, that when you sometimes feel at a drought and you find something you love and you find out what inspired that other person, it helps help you come out of that creator's block, that writer's block. So thank you for sharing that. I would be remiss to not ask you, or is it, I don't know, I'm losing my words right now, because I did my homework. And salute to you on this Call of the Void. Again, everybody, April 15th, all digital platforms, iTunes pre-order. I'll have the links to James's everything in socials in the description below. Go support Nighthawks Entertainment and my man James B. Cox. I saw some projects coming up. Can you speak to that? Or are they still kind of preliminary along the way? I think you had something called Amber Alert and another project. Are those still kind of popping along, or are there some other projects that you maybe moving around right now?
Well, I mean, every good filmmaker has a few irons in the fire. Those are some scripts I'm very proud of and would like to see get made at some point. With the right budget and the right production. But I will say, for other Stephen King fans out there, so the Dollar Baby project, which I was I was a part of for, kind of in the early days, is now over. Stephen King has completed it, and is no longer offering that deal to filmmakers to make one of his short stories for $1. So us as Dollar Baby filmmakers have decided, one, we want to make sure that we go on record with the legacy of these films. And there's many, you should seek them out. There are amazing short films based on Stephen King's stories. Billy Hansen, one of my close friends, he made a great adaptation of Survivor Type. And there's just so many more out there. But please seek those out. And then there's also a few books on the subject. A new one that's coming out that I just contributed to is called the Dollar Baby book. I think it's called Part 3 or the final Dollar Baby book because it's the end of a trilogy, so to speak. And then on Inkshares, we're putting together an anthology of short stories by Dollar Baby filmmakers, with the deal being that we will offer those short stories for $1 to adapt. The same way we were given that deal by Stephen King, we are now paying that forward, and we're going to release a short story anthology that offers that to future filmmakers.
Wow.
And that's something I'm very excited to be invited to be a part of. Very excited to be able to participate in that. I have a short story called Hope's Howl that will hopefully excite a lot of people. Very different from Call the Void, except for the fact that it does take place on a mountain. And it's great to, as filmmakers, getting together and finding your community is so important. And us Dollar Baby filmmakers are, we are a very close-knit community, as it turns out. We all love Stephen King, and we all know what it's like to be on set and things are not happening the way you want them to, and you gotta grit your teeth and sit down either with your script or with your scriptee or with your first AD and figure it out, because you can't go home and empty-handed. It's just not done. So that's, those kind of experiences, those war stories really bind us together, all filmmakers in a lot of ways, but especially the Dollar Baby ones. So
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that, James. To me, I just love this craft. And it is indeed a craft, and it's a lot of ups and downs. And in order to make it through those ups and downs, you gotta love it. And
Yes.
I definitely salute you and your entire team for seeing it all the way through and making it happen and continuing to step up to the plate and learning from things before and improving upon that the next go round, and keep on just giving us something to escape from the rest of the world sometimes, especially in times like now. I know personally for me, I live in DC, so I'll say that for myself, James. So thank you.
It's a wild and crazy world. Yeah.
It is. Thank you so much for your time, James, and salute to you again and your entire team on Call of the Void. Everybody, go check it out. April 15th, all digital platforms. I'm gonna have all the links to Nighthawks Entertainment, my man James B. Cox, in the description below. Go support Call of the Void. And as those other projects develop, James, if you'd love to come back, I'd love to, send some virtual flowers and help just present the stage for you to spread the knowledge and show support for your films.
Absolutely. Thank you, Patrick. And I'll definitely take you up on that.
Thank you so much, everybody. James B. Cox. I'm Kuya P. Nerds rule the world. All right, there's a cut, James.
Nerds rule the world.
Pleasure chatting with you. Love to all my nerds who rule the world.
Nerds rule the world.
Yes, we do.
Thanks. Nerds rule the world. Thank you.
I love the nerds ruling the world, so more power to you.
Patrick, what up, man? And yes, they do. Nerds rule the world, kid.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Awesome. Kuya P, Nerds Rule the World. Hello.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Oh,
Nerds rule the world.
I got.
It's in the title of your show, like Nerds Rule the World. Like, I want more Black weirdos on screen, and I don't feel like we ever get to see that very much.
Thank you so much. Nerds do rule the world.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nerds rule. Love it.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, Julie.
Nerds rule. Yes,
Rock on. I love it. Thank you so much.
It's good to see you. I love Nerds Rule the World.
But yeah, there's a heavy nerd component, man.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you ask me, nerds rule the world. So
absolutely.
And you're right. Nerds do rule the world.
We're just the best.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank
ladies.
you so much.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
It's your boy Kuya P. Nerds rule the world. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you.
do. They rule the world all right.
Yes. Take care, Tony. Thank you, guys. All right. We are recording. Here we go in a 1, 2, 3.